Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Mid Podcast, the show where wrestling gets praised when it deserves it and absolutely roasted when it earns it. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can get all your Mid Podcast videos. Also, you can listen to the podcast wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify. So, today I am talking about AEW Redemption from Montreal, Quebec. The show had tremendous talent, a somewhat packed Bell Center, championship matches, a ladder match, hardcore violence, and somehow still managed to leave me asking, that's it? Because here's the thing, bad wrestling? Not really. Bad wrestlers? No, absolutely not. Bad booking? Now we may be talking. This show felt like eating an expensive steak that somebody forgot to season. Everything looked fantastic. Everything should have worked. But somehow, yeah, it tasted bland. So today I am breaking down the matches, talking about why several booking decisions completely missed the mark, why AEW keeps falling into the same creative traps, and yes, we're also discussing why Willow Nightingale is slowly becoming AEW's version of John Cena, which now I will refer to her as Willow Cena. And before the comments explode, I'm talking about the booking, not the talent, because Willow is incredibly talented. But if Tony Khan isn't careful, fans are going to turn on her the exact same way WWE fans turned on Cena 20 years ago. So, let's get into it. We had a 6-man ladder match, and this should have stolen the show. Instead, it became another AEW ladder match, and that's becoming a problem. Every AEW ladder match has become someone nearly dies, someone jumps off something ridiculously high. We get 27 Canadian destroyers, 4 dives, 3 broken ladders. Everyone forgets the title is hanging above them, and it has become a parody now. We had multiple reports noted that the chaotic, high risk nature of the bout, with Mike Bailey earning an international championship opportunity, was kind of typical AEW and was sort of lackluster. I have no problem with Speedball Mike Bailey winning. That's perfectly fine. He's outstanding. He deserved a shout out in his hometown. But did this match feel different from the last 5 AEW ladder matches? Nope, not even a little. Every spot was bigger than the last, which somehow made everything feel smaller. If everything is extreme, nothing feels extreme. Match 2, we had Kyle Fletcher, who is our international champion, versus Bandito. All right, this was wrestling. Real wrestling, no unnecessary drama. I didn't get 20 run ins, no explosions, just 2 phenomenal athletes. And Kyle Fletcher continues proving he is one of the best wrestlers in the world. Bandito, still one of the most underutilized performers in professional wrestling. And there lies the problem. Nobody believed Bandito was actually winning. That completely killed the suspense. Excellent wrestling, but predictable outcome. And while we highlight Fletcher and Bandito as one of the stronger in-ring contests on the card, it kind of was just on the card. Well, we've seen the return of the Painmaker, and, well, it was the Painmaker. And I know Jericho gets a lot of slack, but you have to give it up for the man. For like over his 20 plus wrestling career, the man has reinvented himself brought back his gimmicks when they feel appropriate, which I would say felt appropriate in his match against Tommaso Ciampa. Um, in a no holds barred match, nonetheless. Well, guess what? This was the only match that had blood, and I was okay with this. As we know, AEW does love their blood and gore, and I'm okay with blood and gore. And we had Chris Jericho bleeding again. Was it 2019? This wasn't a wrestling match, it was a Home Depot commercial. We had glass, thumbtacks, chains, tables, and even a drill. What the hell are we going to do with a drill? I guess we're going to hang the mirrors. Maybe. I'm pretty sure somebody almost pulled out the lawnmower. Hardcore wrestling only works when it's rare, and AEW treats hardcore matches like Monday morning coffee. You expect them pretty much every week. So, was the use of heavy weapons and the violence in this match up to expectation? No, for me, it kind of fell flat. Although I did love the mirror with the face painted on it. I'm really hoping this is the end of their feud. I highly doubt it, but I'm hoping maybe we can take both characters and go in a different direction. All right, match 4, which could have been on any Dynamite or Collision, take your pick, was Adam Copeland and Christian Cage, and I love me some Christian Cage, versus Pac and Claudio for our AEW Tag Team Championship. I really wanted to love this because I like all 4 guys involved. Instead, I spent half of the match wondering, why are Copeland and Christian still champions? I get your legends, and I love the fact that you can say you were AEW Tag Team Champions, but AEW desperately needs younger tag teams to elevate. And of course, Pac and Claudio losing again. What exactly were we trying to accomplish here? Another win under Copeland and Cage's belt? Maybe? You know what would have made this match way more interesting? And my co host on Lipsticks and Lariats will kill me for saying this. Claudio should have tickled Pac right in the stomach in the middle of the match. That's all I needed. Yes, the champions retain. We got a post angle match, which continues to build future rivalries, which everybody in the wrestling community knew this was going to happen at All In at Wembley. Young Bucks, Young Bucks, Cope and Christian. Y'all both old. And I like the Young Bucks. But where is my babies? We scream on Lipstick and Lariats, push your babies. We need some young tag teams. And it's not like AEW does not have them. What are we doing, TK? I'm just asking. All right. We have our women's world championship match. Tekla, who has actually made me enjoy women's wrestling when she's involved, versus Willow Nightingale. But unfortunately, Tekla, you failed in this match because I hated this match. So it's time to have that conversation. And I know everybody's going to come at me. So get your pitchforks. I don't care. Willow, you're a fantastic human, fantastic wrestler. You got an infectious personality. The fans, they genuinely love her. She's such a sweet person. But this isn't about Willow the person. This is about Willow the booking. Because AEW is slowly making Willow Nightingale their John Cena. Let's think about it. Always smiling, always overcoming impossible odds, always presented as morally perfect, always the heroic centerpiece, always getting the emotional moments. Sound familiar? John Cena. Well, yep, that's exactly how WWE booked John Cena. And eventually, fans got tired of it. Not because Cena wasn't somewhat talented, because the booking became repetitive. If the story ends with Willow smiling through adversity, winning winning despite impossible circumstances, always standing tall, eventually the fans will stop cheering. And it won't be because they hate Willow, because they hate predictability. I get Willow's title win is positioned as a major feel good moment leading into All In, but what are we doing? I don't think Willow Mercedes Monet is the match you think it's going to be, Tony Khan. Sorry. Love you dearly, but I think you may be wrong on this one. AEW has an opportunity here. Don't make her unbeatable. Make her vulnerable. Let her fail. Let her struggle. That's how legends are made. Not by winning every emotional climax, but by surviving losses. And why not have Tekla go in as your champion, who is European? All In is in London. Last time I checked, England was part of Europe. But no, you give us Willow Nightingale. And yet again, she wins with a backsliding pin. Okay. That's the same way she won her TBS title. I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay, a match that did not need to be on the show, but it had to be on the show because Jon Moxley thinks he's got to be on every damn AEW show possible. If the cameras are rolling, he seems like he's got to be in front of it. I don't know if it's ego or what, but homie, can you take your wife on a vacation? She hasn't had a vacation in like 2 years. You can go away and make us fans miss you, which will make us want you back. Well, anyway, we have the Young Bucks with Moxley and Ospreay. And this match perfectly sums up modern AEW. Fantastic wrestling, questionable storytelling, Ospreay refusing to embrace Moxley's brutality. That's actually compelling character development. But once again, AEW couldn't resist adding layers of melodrama where simple storytelling would have been enough. The finish centered on Ospreay refusing to fully embrace Mox's ruthless tactics and allowing the Bucks to capitalize. Huh. We had a double chain match. We had the dogs, David Finlay and Clark Connors, versus the Bang Bang Gang of Jay White and Juice Robinson. Sad part, I liked all four of these guys. The right outcome was given when the dogs won. But apparently, a regular tag team wrestling match wasn't violent enough. This was a chain match, and I got no blood in this match. No, these four men had to be connected by chains because nothing says settle your personal differences like turning professional wrestling into the world's angriest group project. The rivalry centered on the complicated history between Jay White and David Finlay. Both men had led Bullet Club when in New Japan, both believed the group belonged to them, and both carried enough resentment to power the lights in the Bell Center. Finlay viewed Jay White as the former leader who abandoned New Japan and left him to clean up the mess. White viewed Finlay as the replacement who inherited his chair and immediately started behaving like he built the entire house. That's not a rivalry to me, but let's just say this was Thanksgiving dinner with weapons. And then you add Juice and Clark into the mix. They did provide additional chaos. Juice brought his usual combination of energy, shouting, and facial expressions of a man who just discovered someone drank his last juice. Connors, well, he looked aggressive, but the chain be used both as a weapon and a personality trait? I mean, we use the chains for choking, pulling, trapping, and breaking up momentum, but the wrestlers could not create separation without dragging someone else into the action, which gave the match a natural sense of desperation. Problem? The stipulation was more memorable than much of the wrestling. That happens too often in AEW. So we announced a double chain match. Instead of asking what is the strongest story we could tell, creative decides how many uncomfortable sounds can four human bodies make in 20 minutes. Well, the dogs eventually won, which gave Finley another victory over White, which gives us pretty much a match for All In, Finley versus White. And it was there. And that's all I can say. And it makes my heart sad because I like both teams. And we had our AEW TBS Championship, where our champion Sheeta, who has had a terrible reign as TBS champion, a heel Sheeta does not work. I'm sorry. We gave it a try. We learned it failed. So let's move on. She was facing Maya World, who is a new up and coming star. Yay! We pushed our babies. So on paper, the story worked. We had Maya was the resilient young challenger attempting to achieve the biggest victory of her career and happened to try it on her 24th birthday. Sheeta, our experienced champion, who become increasingly vicious and arrogant. And Maya had momentum after reaching the Owen Hart Cup final, while Sheeta wanted to prove that experience, cruelty, and championship pedigree would overwhelm the young challenger. Well, it's perfectly acceptable wrestling story. The execution, however, felt like somebody placed the match in slow motion and forgot they left the remote on. Sheeta controlled much of the contest and targeted Maya's injury. She did not simply try to defeat her challenger, she wanted to punish and embarrass Maya. And it kind of made sense for Sheeta's character, but the match struggled to maintain crowd interest. Maya sold the injury, Sheeta attacked the injury, Maya showed determination, Sheeta attacked the injury, and at some point this stopped being psychological and started becoming a recurring subscription to Netflix. I think this match needed a stronger pace and more convincing transition into Maya's comeback. The result was unquestionably a wonderful personal moment. I'm not upset with the outcome, with Maya winning her first AEW championship on her birthday. But because the outcome was good does not mean the match was good. And guess what? That about summarizes much of AEW Redemption because we had meaningful results surrounded by matches that did not always justify the time devoted to them. It looks as AEW clearly sees Maya World as an important part of its future. Good. Glad to see this. But putting the TBS championship on her was a bold commitment. So now the promotion must give her more than emotional victory. We need to build her character and give her a substantial rivalries. And less and fortunately, if you do not do that, you don't create a star. You just create another champion. Alrighty, let's talk about our AEW National Championship with our champion Mark Davis and the Latino man Andrade El Elito. Alright, all the girls just want to see Andrade take his pants off. I am one of them girls. Um, we get this match because Andrade decided he would rebel against the Don Callis family. and he has become increasingly popular through his real Latino man character and his catchphrase, "How you know?" and his growing frustration with being treated like another employee in the Don Callis Wrestling Corporation of Doom. So he defeated Jake Doyle to earn this championship opportunity, which placed him opposite of Mark Davis, whom I like Mark Davis. And yes, he is another member of the Don Callis family, and he was holding the national championship. So the story, pretty much straightforward. Andrade wanted independence, validation, and revenge. Davis wanted to defend the family and stop Andrade's rebellion before it spread. Well, finally, a match with a reason existed beyond these two people are good wrestlers, so TK put them together. Andrade brought charisma and explosiveness, and Davis brought power and expression of a man who had been asked to carry a refrigerator upstairs without help. Their styles complemented each other, and the one pivotal moment came when Andrade used a Hurricane Rana on the apron and sent Davis into the ring post. Well, I'm glad Andrade finally got a title, and this is the type of championship victory AEW needs more often. A result tied to character growth rather than rankings, dream matches, or somebody pointing at a logo on the entrance screen. But I must discuss the national championship itself. So, AEW, in your men's division, you have your world champion, your international champion, your continental champion, TNT champion, national champion, enough additional belts appearing from partner promotions to make an airport security nervous. So at this point, winning an AEW championship is impressive, but locating the correct championship may require me to use Google Maps. Although Andre's victory could have felt enormous, it was part of the audience going, wait, which championship was this again? And it wasn't Andrade's fault. It was the consequences of championship inflation, where everybody carries gold and the value of that gold goes down. But this was still one of the better booked results of the show, and I was happy to see Andrade, win his first gold in AEW. Okie dokie. I'm going to talk about the main event. We had our champion, Kenny Omega, woohoo, versus Kevin Knight. And of course, we heard all the flack. Why is Kevin Knight in this match? Kevin Knight doesn't deserve to be in this match. This match should have been MJF and Kenny Omega. And yes, it should have. But guess what? MJF is hurt. So he needs some time to recuperate. And throwing Kevin Knight in this championship match didn't hurt him. It was, hey, I think you might be the future of the company. So let's see if you sink or swim and put you in there with the best bout machine. And we all know Kenny Omega remains incredible, even though we kind of can see Kenny winding down his wrestling career, which breaks my heart. And Kevin Knight, you have a bright future. But here's the issue. Nobody, absolutely nobody, thought Kevin Knight was winning. So exactly where was the drama? The wrestling, fantastic. Athleticism, elite. The suspense, yeah, that was missing and pasted on the side of a milk carton. And when your audience already knows the ending, you're asking them to admire the performance instead of becoming emotionally invested. So Omega successfully retained the main event, and we all knew he was going to face Will Ospreay at All In. The ending, however, we saw the Death Riders come out there, attack Omega. Moxley give Ospreay the bag, wanting him to choke out Omega with the bag like they did Brian Danielson. You could see Will contemplating, but it's like, I'm still a good guy, sorta. You know, do I or do I not? Osprey decides he doesn't, and he saves Omega. But young Will, you have to learn. Omega will do anything to keep his goal, including giving you a one-winged angel in the middle of the ring and telling you you're not taking my title, bitch. So I put Kenny in the tweener category. Everybody was hollering, oh, Kenny turned heel. I don't think he turned heel, although I wouldn't be upset if I get a heel Omega. Everybody's wanting Osprey to turn heel. I don't think Osprey's a good heel, but we'll see. And if you do turn Osprey at heel, I would not do it right after he wins it All In. I would probably wait till Full Gear and let the tension build up and let him realize how hard it is to keep the world title. This was a decent match. I mean, I did get to see Kenny Omega, so I am not going to complain. But I will tell you why this felt like one of AEW's weakest pay per views. Here's the frustrating part. There wasn't one truly awful match. Instead, there were way too many predictable outcomes. Too many matches designed to bridge the gap to All In. Did we really need this pay per view? No. We had too many stories that felt like placeholders instead of conclusions. Every championship match felt obvious. Every emotional beat felt rehearsed. Every surprise, well, wasn't surprising because we got no surprises. It felt like a 3-hour commercial for Wembley. And that is the biggest criticism I have. A pay per view should be the event, not an advertisement for the next one. AEW has arguably the deepest wrestling roster on earth, and yet somehow they keep producing shows where incredible matches blend together because the creative direction does not elevate them. Good wrestling alone isn't enough in today's wrestling. Fans need compelling stories. We want unpredictability. We want moments we'll remember 5 years from now. Redemption had excellent performances, but I don't think I'd be going back watching this pay per view 5 years from now saying, oh, this had great moments. So I give the show a 5. And oh, it's not a disaster, but it's also not the standard AEW has set for itself. When you have one of the most talented rosters in professional history, pretty good can feel disappointing. At the same time, it's not worth recognizing that many reviewers view the event more positively overall. You praised your in ring quality, you've seen what it was setting up for All In. But my critique is that the booking often prioritizes future storylines over making Redemption itself feel like a must see pay per view. So, what did you think? Was Redemption one of AEW's weaker pay per views? Or am I completely off base as I was told I had a hive mind? And most importantly, is Willow Nightingale becoming AEW's John Cena? Or is she exactly the babyface the company needs? Let me know in the comments below. And also, if you enjoyed this review, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your wrestling friends. And guess what? I will see you next time, right here on the greatest podcast ever, the Mid Podcast. So, until next time, I will talk to you guys later.